think of what you can do. Don't worry about what you can't. I mean, you can't change what you can't change.
Eric, introduce yourself if you would, and tell us a little bit about your background and just compactly a little bit of your story.
Yeah, I'm a 58-year-old chap who is tetraplegic, or if you're American, quadriplegic. That's to say, I'm paralyzed from the neck down. I've been a financial advisor all my life, but about 21 years ago, I had an operation, woke up paralyzed, and then about 2 years ago, I fell over and broke my neck again, and now I'm even more paralyzed. But hey, in the meantime, I set up my own business. I ran that for 15 years. I was elected to South Atlantic Council, served on that for 5 years. I've stood for Westminster and Holyrood, unfortunately unsuccessfully. But I've tried my very best to keep going as well as one can.
When we last spoke, you said something that really resonated with me, which was the fact that you wouldn't change your situation, that although obviously there's been a tremendous sort of uphill process with the whole thing, you said that it had brought you some benefits.
Often, of course, you lie in bed at night and think to yourself, oh, oh my miserum, life's really treated me badly. But I look back and I say to myself, well, if in 16th of June 2004, I could have said to the doctor, no, I don't want to do the operation, in which case I wouldn't have been paralyzed. I might have had other problems. But I look back and I say, well, I'm not sure that it would have been a better life, because I got one great advantage from what happened back then. And that is that I had a chance to reset the clock, as it were. I had a 9 months in hospital, 2 years off work. And that gave me the opportunity to sit down and think about the things I would like to do. Had I not had the operation, I would have carried on going to work in a job I didn't particularly enjoy, for a company I didn't particularly like. You always have a little bit of savings, but you always know that you've got to keep going. Otherwise, if you fall off the bike, you'll not get back on again. So anyway, giving that 2-year break gave me an enforced opportunity to think about what I was doing. And so I set up my own business. I thought, do that for a start. Why was I making money for somebody else when I could perfectly easily do it myself? And then I got involved in politics, and as I say, I stood for Westminster originally, although the first one for Westminster and Holyrood I knew were not going to come to anything. I stood as a paper candidate. They like me to do that as a first run. But then I stood for the council. I was pretty sure I couldn't get elected, but I did get elected. I did my 5 years. I had the most marginal seat on the council, so I wasn't surprised when I lost it at the end of the 5 years. But I also then stood for Holyrood with a serious intent. I added 50% to our vote. I had one of the biggest swings in Scotland. I had more votes than half of the MSPs in Holyrood. But the system doesn't necessarily reward that. I came second. There are no silver prizes in politics. So I mean that was fine. But then, of course, 2 years ago, after that, I fell over and broke my neck.
What would you say your greatest achievement has been over the last 20 years?
Oh, well, they're all little things. I mean, just to be able to survive and thrive whilst disabled. But my one thing that I did on the council, which is a little thing, and for those that it matters for, it matters a lot, but for most people it doesn't. And that was my bridge. It was a bridge that hadn't been maintained by the council, and eventually had to be closed between two small communities. And the council didn't want to repair it. They didn't think it was a good use of money, and I had to keep it on the forefront. I kept getting on the front page of the paper and pushing and pushing and pushing, and eventually it got done. And I don't think it would have been done, certainly when it was done, without my intervention. And so that's probably the one little thing that I look back and say, there's a tangible thing I achieved.
I know a lot about that bridge because it is round the corner from me, and it probably saves those of us who go in a certain direction. I think it's probably 8 miles each way of a detour if the bridge isn't there. And definitely, I know locally it was a big deal when it got put back together again, and it is a beautiful bridge. And personally, I'm more in favor of calling it the Eric Bridge or the Eric Holford Bridge. I think could be a suitable accolade for someone. I've seen you operate in the community more than once at different meetings, and you do put yourself out there, and you do put yourself 100% in it. So I think. Wouldn't be unreasonable for me to assume I could thank you on behalf of the community for the what appear small things, but I mean, every time someone goes across that bridge, it's like a massive relief, really, and it kind of all adds up in a strange way, doesn't it? Just to wrap up with, if someone found themselves in a similar situation, either physically, mentally, or life challenges, is there something you could say or some sort of inspiration that you could give us to of how you dealt with that? And it's basically, I think it's a mental process to some extent that there has to be a shift once there's a dramatic change. But can you tell us how that worked for you and what you did to keep yourself on track?
Absolutely. If you do not suffer a mental health crisis because your life has changed like this, then there's probably something wrong with you. It's one of those things. It's all that you thought was safe and secure suddenly has changed. And the message that perhaps I would give is that it's not over. We have a pretty decent benefit system in this country. It may sometimes be difficult to deal with, but it will support you. And that gives you the opportunity, a rare opportunity. People don't normally get this, to just stop, take a year or 2 years off, and reassess what you want to do with your life. Think of what you can do. Don't worry about what you can't. I mean, you can't change what you can't change, but you can look at your future, plan it out, see what you think you could do, and then go ahead and do it. Take the opportunity that's given to you, because not many people get that opportunity. Most people will work all the way through till they retire, and hopefully they get a pension, but they don't have the opportunity to say, actually, I want to get off this hamster wheel and get back to and do something different. My life has not been all bad. I've been very lucky, and I have a wonderful wife who is incredibly supportive. And I had two children who grew up in the middle of this. My daughter would have been 14, 13 when I first went into hospital. She decided then she wanted to become a nurse. She's now 30 something. And she is a nurse. That's what she does. So it was good in that respect as well. But it's certainly having a strong family helped. But it's always you just got to take the opportunity. There is an opportunity as well as it is a curse, because you can reassess, see what you want to do, see what you want to do with your life, and make some changes. And here we are 21 years later. And I honestly can't say for certain that if I went back 21 years, I would not have had the operation. Life isn't over just because you can't walk. think of what you can do. Don't worry about what you can't. I mean, you can't change what you can't change.